Hi, everyone. Welcome to Live with Janome and Basics and Beyond with Artistic Digitizer. Today, we're talking about convert outline to object and convert fill to centerline. These are what I call a little hidden tool. So let me go ahead and I'll put the camera on. Hi there, I'm Anne Hein, Embroidery Software Specialist for Janome America, and today we are talking about what I like to call a hidden tool. You don't see this tool unless you have the right thing on your screen and you're right-clicking. So that's where the tools are. And I like that we have the tools this way. That way they're not all over my screen so I can't find things. It's easier for me to work this way. Now, to find out more information about this, when you have your software open, you can always go up to the help, and then I like to do the topics and searchable, and you can put convert object or convert fill or convert fill or convert outline, one of those, and it'll give you the things that you need. So let me go ahead, I'll put the software on and I'll show you what I'm talking about with a few little samples here. I'm going to open a new page and I'm first going to start with a shape. So if we had a rectangular shape like this, now mine are always set to come up with an outline and a fill, and I want to work with the outline. So what I really need to do, I know I can right click on it and I will get convert outline to object, but my outline doesn't really have much thickness to work with. So before I start, I do need to make that a satin. So I'm going to open up my properties and I right clicked up in here, or you can go to tools and or view, I'm sorry, and toolbars, and you can turn on your colors and your properties that way as well. So my outline is selected. Here we are, outline. It's a running stitch. I'm going to turn it into a satin, and I'm going to make it 2 millimeter, 2.0 mm. Now I do work in inches, but I like to put stitch length and stitch width in millimeter. For me, it's helpful because I'm used to seeing that with my sewing machine. And now you can see, we'll scroll in, that my outline has a little bit of width. But if I wanted to reshape this, I really can't do much with it. I can't bend it in any way. If I went to my nodes, my nodes are around the outside. I could select it and I could do convert to curves and add nodes, but it's really only on the corners. And if I want to make maybe more complex shapes, I want to do this a little differently. So I'm going to go back to my original shape. I think that's where we started. There we go. We have that. We'll go one back this way and back to select. Now that I have it selected, I have both my outside and my inside selected. So when I right click on it, I'm going to get the convert outline to object, and I'm going to get convert fill to center line. Now with this one, if I did the fill to a center line, it's going to give me this kind of a look. I don't really want that. So I'm going to undo that. What I really want is convert outline to object, and I'm going to click there. And when I do that, and I go back to my edit nodes, I have these nodes in here, and I can pull them down and create this thickness in there like that. Let's see this one here. Let's make that straight. There we go. Or this one straight, those little arrows. There we go. So I can make this interesting shape here, and then I can select the outside part. It's a step fill. I could make it a satin. With satin, I could use my stitch flow. Maybe I want to divide it here in the corners, something like that, to give it a little different look. I'm going to undo that because that's not really what I want. But you can play with all these other options. I could give it a pattern now so that I could work with that. So it has some interesting parts. Here I would probably play with my edit nodes again just to make this inner part fill a little bit. There we go. So I don't have that gap in there. So you can make these neat shapes. And then since I've made that shape, I can create it, pull it over here, and just have the outline to work with. So maybe I want to do something different with it. Whoops, I want to rotate it just a little bit like that. Maybe put it on top of there and create some other piece of artwork. So working with this it's a really nice feature to have this. It expands your creativity on that part of it. What's really helpful too is if you like to work with text, and I'll move down here, and you want to make like a run line text, what you can do is I'm going to type up here in the text. I moved my cursor down here, and I'm going to go ahead and type, let's type in, there we go. And I'm going to, I don't know why, I think I put a space in the middle there somewhere. There we go. There we are. And then I'm going to select my piece. I'm going to delete my outlines. I don't need the outline. I'm going to work with the fill, and I'm going to right click here, convert fill to center line. When it first does it, it makes it a satin, but I really want it to be a running stitch. There's my running stitch. From here, I can select one of these patterns. Maybe I want to make it a bean stitch. There we go. Let's click off of it so you can see. Isn't that cool? So now you have some options with all of those fonts that you have. You can turn them into run line designs. A lot of times we want a run line design, and it doesn't have to be a running stitch. I mean, you could use the up here, there's like a chain here. You can use the chain stitch. Looks like that. But you may want to tighten that up a little bit and change the length just a little bit, make it a little smaller in length so it's closer together. Maybe not that close. Let me go back up, and I'm just putting my cursor in here and scrolling. This is the width. Maybe I want to make less wide, something like that. So it looks like chain. So it'll look like a hand embroidery when you go to stitch that out. That's very popular now, like on pillows and wall hangings and things like that, to use a chain stitch on those lettering. So it really makes it fun. Now, if I didn't like, parts of this, I can also edit out parts at any time too. So if I went to edit nodes and I didn't like that part, I can click on it and delete it and just have this portion of my lettering. So you have options to edit this even further, which is really great. So if you were working with, let's look at working with an embroidery design. This is one of my favorites from our machines, and we've all seen this little pony. I really like the outline of this pony, and I'm going to pull that off of there and put it down here. So there it is. It's a satin outline, and when I select it, I can right click on it, and I don't get any of those converting things right here, right? So I need to convert it to curves, which makes it a satin fill. And now I can right click on it and convert my fill to a center line. And from there, I can make it a running stitch. And then of course I can do my favorite and make it a bean stitch. And look at that. Isn't that just the cutest? Now you can use that to make it look like a hand stitch on somewhere. You could, delete some of these parts if you didn't like it. You could always do break apart and take things off. But I really like it just like this. I think that's really very, very cute way to work with it. Another thing you can do with your pieces is to come in here. This is a design from our machine as well. And if I wanted to make a patch out of this, I can select it, go up here to convert, and I could do auto border. And I wanted to go to the outside just a little bit as a satin, and okay, there we go. And now I have that part of it. And if I wanted to make it convert my outline to an object, so I have more editing possibilities of making this fatter, where, let me undo this. If this was just my outline, when I move these, it reshapes the whole line. But if I select it and I convert the outline to an object and I go to my edit nodes, now I can select nodes and pull out the nodes and make different parts of my line thicker or thinner. And if I can use my shift and click on a couple of nodes at a time and pull them out just like that, and change what the outside outline looks like. So you have more creative ability when you use the convert, when you use that right click. Let me get it again here. Let's see if it's, for some reason, there it goes. Right click and use your convert. And now it's a fill. If I go back, I can make it a center line. Maybe I want it to be a running and go back to that. Again, I could make it a bean stitch for the outline. So you can go back and forth with those, whichever way you want to go, which I think is kind of fun to work with it in that way. So let me go back to the camera and I'm going to talk to you for just a little bit here. Let's see, get the camera on. There we go. So hopefully this will challenge you to use those tools and, to remember that they're there. A lot of times, we right click and we're like, what is that tool? How does it work? If you need help finding that, you can go up to the, in the software to help, go to topics, and then you can go to search, put in your search word for that, and you'll find the little description. I find it easier to navigate that way to find the help rather than going to the printable help, where it's more like it's set up like a manual and then you kind of have to find the contents and page through. It's a little quicker to do your search and find things that way. So I'm going to go ahead and challenge you to play around with this a little bit. Make your shapes. I mean, when I was playing with it earlier, my head was like spinning with the little ideas like, oh, I could use this here and use this there. One of the things I find sometimes is when I love working with the lettering and changing, changing it to a run line, or even changing the outline. If I went with the outline and made it a satin outline and then made that my outline to an object, I can reshape different parts of the letters to make them fatter or thinner. Okay, let me show you that really quick. Let me go back. Here we go. All right, so let's go to a new page. And I'm just going to come in here to the text and I'm just going to type a letter right here like that. And I think I'll scroll through and find a different font. I double clicked in the font name and now I can just go through this way and find different things. And let me see, maybe that one, we'll play with that one. I'm going to click off of it to select it. Now it has an outline and a fill, but the outline really is just a run line. So let me come in here and maybe I just want to work with that part of it. So I'm going to delete my fill. And then my outline, of course, I have to give it a bit of thickness to work with it. I'm just going to make it 2 millimeters to start, or even, I could go 3. There we go. And then, so you can see that, there it is. That's pretty nice. I can right click on this and I can do convert outline to object. Now that it's an object, some things change on it, but I can go to my edit nodes. And again, I can come in here and maybe this part that's out here, I want to move these nodes out a bit like this and reshape my letter to be kind of have little spikes on it like this. Let's pull out this one. Oops, I think I got the wrong side of that. So let me undo it. And if you need to, you can add a node. Well, I got to be on the line, I think. There we go. And I can add a node to make a spike out there. Maybe on this side, I want to make a little bit of a spike. These arrows can change the size or the straightness of that spike, however I want to do that. Maybe I want to pull this more this way. Now I do have a center part, but once I get to the part where I'm done working, oh, I kind of like that kind of cool thing in there. Once I get this done, I can do break apart, and then I can remove maybe this center part. I don't want that. This part down here, let's see if I do edit nodes down in here. I can make these parts a little bit thicker so you can see them. You can choose multiple of your nodes like this, and then just drag them back to make them bigger. It's a great way to make those fonts that you put them up on your screen and then they're really too thin to stitch out. Now you can convert them and make them a little bit thicker. There we go. All right, let me go back to the camera. If you have comments or questions, please post them below. I'll come back and answer those once the live is done. And I'm going to challenge you again to go ahead and play with this feature. This is how you learn all those tools. If you just take a couple minutes and play with it a little bit, sometimes they sit in the back of your head. So when you're working on a project, you can go, oh, I know how to change that. I know how to fix that. Many times people ask me, how do I make my satin outline thicker? Besides going in and changing the millimeters to a wider one, you might only want to make certain parts of it thicker or reshape it. That's when you use your select outline to object and make it an object. All right, everyone, have fun playing with the software. Let me know how you're doing, and thank you for joining me today. Bye for now.